12:35 date check. Hey, 12:35 date check.
Check, check.
Good evening.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I have been checking old code to make sure it still works, and that's always fun.
Apparently I unplugged my camera. Hold on a second.
That's always fun too.
There we go.
Ah, there you are.
I have a USB-C docking station
Mm-hmm.
that has exactly one port fewer than I need. So the camera tends to end up plugged into the laptop. And when I bring home the work laptop, I unplug it from mine and plug it into the work laptop, and then I just leave it on the desk.
Right. Well, I I've been playing around with getting code to work, old hardware to work with the newer system, with Linux Mint 22.
Hmm.
And I've run into I think I can I don't know. I've run into one Python problem. It's looking for an old library that obviously isn't available anymore. An old Python 2 library. It's not available in the repos anymore. But I think you can install Python 2 on it, can't you? Can't you download Python 2?
Uh,
Python 2 is not in the repo anymore. I know that. But I ran into a weird hardware limitation or a software limitation.
yeah, apparently there's a thing called 2 to 3, 2 TO3,
Okay.
and that installs Python 3-lib223 and 2 to 3. I don't know, maybe it goes through your stuff and updates from Python 2 to Python 3.
So, well, 21.3 still supports Python 2,
Hmm.
even though that's not the main Python. It's got both Python 2 and Python 3 installed. So this little robot works with 21.3. It doesn't work with 22. And its actual programmer, the software that actually programs this board requires one of the Python 2 libraries, which isn't available. I tried to copy it over from just tried to copy it to put it in there, and it didn't really like that either. So
What's the library?
I forget off the top of my head. 2.7, that's not it. Hang on. Let me see if I could find my notes. But apparently TI, who made this thing, has completely dropped support on it. They're not even supporting it anymore, which,
TI tends to support things for about 3 years, so that doesn't surprise me.
yeah, but they're still supporting boards, older boards than this, which is bizarre. I think this was one of their failed experiments that it wants libpython 2.7.so.1.0.
Okay. LibPython, what? I'm sorry.
2.7.so.1.0. The weird thing is I don't have that installed on the uh the other machine. I think it pulled it out of a flat pack to use it out of a flat pack.
Mm,
Because when I do a locate, it says that it's in Flatpak, but it's not anywhere else. I'm like,
try sudo locate.
I could do that.
It may be different, may not.
Uh, I just thought it was weird. There it is in a Flatpak, but it works, so I'm not going to complain.
Yeah. I just discovered I no longer have locate.
Really? Huh. That seems odd. Did you
It isn't installed by default, so meh.
uh well, I don't remember installing it on either one of these machines, so that doesn't mean anything, but I don't remember doing it. Oh, sure enough, sudo locate found one other. Okay, well, that's fine. But
So I have it on mine in homesteve.platformio slash packages slash toolchain dash GCC ARMN. Oh, what the hell is that? Huh.
that's an ARM chip platform compiler.
Apparently, that might have gotten installed with code. or
Yeah.
not with code, but when I did some updates, because I didn't even know I had a platform IO folder. Well, so an awful lot of my folders are automatically synchronized through soft links to Nextcloud.
Okay.
So like I have the same documents on all my machines.
Yeah.
And if I break Nextcloud, oh, I've got that machine that was offline. I can go back to it and let it fix things for me.
Right.
Um, and all things considered, it has helped and been useful. But anything that I consider important, I link into the Nextcloud folder and voila, it's everywhere. The one problem with it being by default, if I create something in Nextcloud Linux Share at that folder level, it immediately synchronizes it everywhere else. Whereas if I've got things that are in Nextcloud and I'm already running Nextcloud client, I can say, now add this folder and I can do it one machine at a time when I want. Doing things at the bottom level of Nextcloud immediately makes it update on all your clients.
Yeah.
That works against you.
I've erased a file. I sync thing is very similar, and I've erased a file, and all of a sudden I realized, oh wait, that was wrong. And of course, when I erase files, I just delete them. I just get rid of them because
Hmm.
I'm an idiot. I don't let them go to the recycle bin. I just get rid of them. So
So,
I immediately like flipped over to a machine, turned off Wi-Fi, and so I could get the file back before it had time to sync because it pretty much will sync just like that. I mean,
mhm.
especially when you delete a file, it doesn't waste any time at all to get rid of stuff. It might take it a little while to, sync another file over, but it when you get rid of something, it's like boom, it's gone.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I understand. Um, in Sync Thing, I believe you can create a read-only share. Um, if you do that, even if you delete it off of others, it'll still be in that.
Yeah. The the nice thing about the way I'm doing it, because I'm using it like a hub instead of having all the machines sync to one another,
Hmm.
they all sync to one machine. So
Hmm.
the first machine has to sync to that machine, and then that machine has to tell everybody else that it's got to change. So it takes it a couple of seconds to propagate across the network. So it that saved me a couple of times, but yeah, I think there's a way to tell it that this is an important file. Don't do something stupid, or really ask me if I do something stupid. But
So with Nextcloud, I've got it set up so I do a rsync backup of it every night, and I keep 60 days of backups. Um, and honestly, for everybody in the house, that all fits on 5 terabytes. I've got a little external 5T drive that I make my rsync onto. Um, I do it with the version of rsync, well, not the version, with rsync set so that it links to the previous backup. So if a file doesn't change, it's just a hard link to another inode. That puts 60 days worth of backups in 2 days worth of space.
yeah,
Um,
that's pretty nice.
and I can go back to the version from 42 days ago and pull anything in that. if it persists overnight. As long as it was there at 2 o'clock in the morning on one night, I've got it somewhere. And that's easy to set up. I
I I kind of use Git like that. So I've got a couple of directories that will automatically sync via Git. So of course I think I could go clear back to the day that I set that up. There's a lot of freaking data in in a couple of those directories. I need to go and expunge some of it because it's useless now, but
I've been using where's this script? Um, well, I put it on here in 2019, but I'm pretty sure my first edit on this was 2006, and it has been working since. I've made some little changes here and there, but for the most part, everything just works.
just works, yeah. So have you upgraded your machines to 22?
Yeah,
Did you have any issues
not yet.
or did you do clean installs on everything?
No, no, no. I did upgrades on three machines. Um, one a VM that I did headless. That was
Oh,
fun. It I couldn't connect to it for a while. I'm like,
yeah.
oh crap. And I was at work. I did it from work. So that made it even more fun. Um, the box I'm on right now and one of my laptops. And I've had no issues on all of them. But I don't do a lot of customization. And it did drop the customization I did do, like Zoom doesn't update automatically anymore. I've got to redo that script that I
Hmm.
sent you that lets you do an apt install Zoom. At least I don't think it does.
Zoom hasn't had a has not had an update for a while, so
Okay.
um the last time that they had an update, I did get it in the repo though. So I mean the fake repo that you set
Hmm.
up. So it I think it's working. Um I've had weird just kind of funky bizarre stuff like it on two machines it um uninstalled the media player. I have no idea why it did it, why it uninstalled it. And uh the version of celluloid that is in the Linux Mint repositories is slightly out of date from the Flatpak version,
Hmm.
but the version in the repositories doesn't honor the theme settings anymore. So the Flatpak honors the theme settings, but I've had my themes change, which I get part of that because they got rid of part of the icon set that I was using. Um, I've had weird issues like I was telling you a couple weeks ago, that that machine up there, that was the worst one. That was the one that completely forgot that it had anything installed at all on it. And just
Hmm.
yeah, And I haven't dealt with stuff like that since like the early days of Linux. I mean, just bizarre stuff. You know, the software not getting installed. Okay, themes changing. It's annoying, but okay, I can deal with that. But breaking the entire boot sequence and causing me hate and dread trying to get it to do stuff,
Well, so I don't like celluloid.
right?
I like VLC. It just does what I want. And I know all the key commands for it. I don't want to relearn that.
Right.
And I just noticed that it had uninstalled that. So I just reinstalled it. I guess I will put that in my list of things to do afterwards.
Yeah, see, I had VLC installed on one of these machines and it uninstalled it. Like I said, no software getting uninstalled. It's annoying, but okay. I've had let's see, Chirp software for programming the radios. That stopped working. I had to in fact, when I tried to reinstall it, the basic step is to uninstall the old and put the new on top.
Hmm.
And when I tried to uninstall it, it said that it wasn't there when clearly it was because I could click on the icon and it would give me an error in the terminal that it couldn't run because it was missing something or whatever. So I just reinstalled it over top of what was already there. Uh, I was like, pain in the butt. That had something to do with changing from Python 2 to Python 3 though. So, um, but at least the Chirp software, the guys who develop it were keeping up with the change because the new stuff works just fine. It's just the old stuff didn't want to work with Python 3. It wanted Python 2. But what was the other thing that I just noticed? I just noticed it wasn't working. There was something else, and I'm kind of like, okay. And one of my machines installed something called Flow Blade Movie Editor, which I have never ever installed. I've never even heard of. I have no idea what it is, but it installed it when I upgraded. The other machines, it's not on there, so I don't know what script it was running to install that, but just bizarre stuff. I mean,
Yeah, I've never seen that. Huh. How big is it? Oh, and that library you were looking for,
yeah,
I have it somehow tied to RP 2040s.
okay.
I don't know why,
It's
but
probably part of the programmer. It's
I
probably
was, yeah, I was using that in code, which I still don't like. I try. I, one of my kids is a professional programmer and he says it's wonderful and I just hate it.
it it definitely is different than using like the Arduino IDE. There's
Mhm.
certain things that you've just got to deal with that it wants, but overall, I have been very happy moving from Arduino to uh, code and platform IO. So it's definitely different, and there are things that it does that I go, why is it doing this? But then I remember, well, Arduino was basically really dumbed down
Mhm.
for non-programmers. It made it super easy for people who do not program. So, there's some stuff that like Arduino just assumes that you want, and
Yeah,
if you don't want it, then you've got to kind of jump through a few hoops to get it turned off. But for the most part, everybody wants what they've done by default. And so like platform does IO doesn't assume that you want anything. It assumes that you're going to tell it what to do. And I think that was probably the biggest hurdle. Like it doesn't assume that you're going to automatically want to open a terminal after the thing. You've got to tell it in its init script that yes, I will want a terminal after it compiles so I could interact with the microcontroller or whatever.
I always want a terminal.
Yeah.
I want a terminal more than I want the other stuff.
So you've got to specifically tell it that you want a terminal, and then as soon as it's done compiling and uploading, it will open the terminal, open the serial console up for you.
Yeah.
It's it's actually pretty nice, but there's a lot to it to get used to. Um, and I still haven't gotten it to work with everything that I have. But it works with like probably 99% of it. So, I mean, just importing Arduino code over, it seems to want to be fine and work. It needs to be told specifically what libraries you want to use, which that was the one thing about Arduino that drove me crazy was how it handles libraries. Libraries in Arduino just kind of suck. They're it, every library is shared, and that causes conflicts sometimes. But Platform IO, you have to tell it specifically which library to use, and
Hmm.
even down to the version number. So if I wanted to use library Arduino JSON version 5 library, I could tell it to use version 5 library instead of version 7 because my code's that old that it needs the old version of the library.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm I do a lot of stuff in C, but I do practically everything in shell scripting. I I don't need to write C stuff anymore. With between sed, awk, grep, and git,
Mm-hmm.
anything I can conceive of doing, I can do. And usually a whole bunch easier. So today I decided to see if somebody had written a script to get a list of IP information off of a Linux box. I found one in Python, and it's like 250 lines long.
What? Okay.
And what it actually does is about 20 lines worth of stuff. So I pulled out the 20 lines, put it in a shell script, and voila, it works. Just
I
stuff.
I mean, I could think of a couple of different ways from a shell script to get IP information
Well, this is pretty
in depth.
complete.
Yeah,
It basically gives you a shell script as the output that can rebuild the network as it had been, install all the IP tables stuff, set up the routing, set up the DHCP if it needs to be. I mean, it's pretty impressive, but it's still only 20 lines of IP commands
right.
and uh, IP table stuff.
See, I don't really know enough about Python to comment one way or the other. I don't like Python. I think it's just, you know, one version of Python wants tabs, one version wants spaces. None of them have like an actual line in kind of
Hmm.
thing like you have in C or whatever. It Python just drives me nuts. I know barely enough to make some of my cameras work. Some of those artificially intelligent
Hmm.
cameras. And even the little tiny bit that I know about it, it just oh, I really wish you could just program that stuff with C. I mean, just be done with it. Just
Yep.
even if it takes a few more lines of code, just let me do it the way I want to do it. But I, I don't know. I struggled and struggled getting one of the cameras to detect Aruku markers. And it was all because one set of functions was tabbed and one set was spaced. And just by looking at it, you couldn't tell the difference.
Nice.
Yeah. And the compiler, uh it's not even a compiler. The interpreter doesn't really tell you. It just throws out an error. This line has an error. Well, great. I don't see a problem. What what's the problem? You could be a little more specific. I mean, I, it's the Arduino IDE is pretty bad about its error messages too, but at least they give you some clue as to what to look for. Some some vague semblance of something.
Yeah. That's one of my issues with programmers today. They grew up on Windows boxes and they've never seen something that gives good error
Yeah.
messages. I I loved just I when I worked at the printing company, I had one big screen that had two terminals on it. One was doing tail dash F on varlog messages and the other on varlog mail log for a mail server. And it was just gorgeous. That was the art in my office. Uh,
Yeah. I had like I said, I've been going through old code just to make sure that it still works and whatever. And I had a bizarre uh, error that had I not looked in the one thing, I would have still been sitting there going, why is this an error? Because the main code all looked correct, but
yeah.
it was supposed to draw a picture. And so the the .h file, the header file that held the picture information was where the actual error was, but the code wouldn't compile, of course, because it couldn't find the missing bracket that was
Mhm.
in the header file. So it got down to one line and it went, "Hey, there's no bracket at this one line." And I'm going, "Yes,
It's
there
right
is.
there.
I can see it." It, I mean, at least it was telling me to look for a bracket, but it was in completely the wrong spot. Just I knew what should have been looking for, and I went through the entire thing of code and went, there is not a missing bracket. And then I said, well, okay, I will look at these header files just because they can't be wrong. They came with the library. There's no way somebody missed a bracket in the header file. Sure enough, there was a missing bracket in the header file.
Oh, nice. So in
So,
Linux, there's expand. If you run expand file, it converts tabs to spaces,
oh, okay.
and you can,
Can you go the other direction?
yeah, that's unexpand.
Unexpand. Okay. Well, that might save some part of that headache, but
But the reason that so far has never reared its ugly head on me is part of my Vim setup is tab is two spaces, and it automatically converts tabs to two spaces when it loads a file. So I never even see tabs in there. So everything ends up being spaces.
a space, yeah. Yeah, I had one of the editors set up to do that. I need to
Notepad++
check.
does also.
I need to check that. See if that see if that setting changed in all the other changes. That was the way I solved the problem was the uh, whatever it is, the nope thing.
Mhm.
I just told it to uh, make everything a space. And then if it still compiled wrong or whatever, I would go, "Oh, okay, so this one wants tabs. I can fix that."
And on Linux, if you like Notepad++ and Windows, check out Notepad QQ in Linux.
Notepad QQ. Huh? I haven't
It's
used I haven't used Notepad plus plus in many years. But I I I don't even really want to boot into a Windows box if I could avoid it.
I don't. I mean, I do at work, but
So, um, Art emailed me earlier today, and it's his wife's birthday today, so
uh,
he said that he would not be here. He would not attend the meeting. So I don't know where everybody else is though. Insert. Nope, of course it did. It changed that setting. Insert spaces instead of tabs. There we go. Fixed. Oh, why? Why do we have to just change random settings for the sake of changing random settings?
So I installed Flowblade.
Yeah, it looks pretty comprehensive, but I
Yeah,
don't I don't know where it came from. I don't remember installing it. And it certainly
you almost had to.
okay, well, if I installed it, I uninstalled it. I didn't use it, but maybe it found it when it was doing whatever. I don't know. I don't remember ever installing it. It wasn't in the repos, huh?
It's in the repos. I did apt install Flowblade.
Hmm.
Um, Again, it looks impressive, and I had assumed it would do similar things to um, OBS, but I don't seem to be able to attach my camera to it.
It's a movie editor.
Yeah,
So if you take and you drop an MPEG 4 or whatever into it, um you should be able to split the screens out, the scenes out, and reorganize and edit and put wipes and sweeps and change the audio and all that fun stuff. I do not think this is anything at all like OBS. OBS is more like a studio where you do
hmm
the recording and then uh like the movie editors would be post processing for the so when we're done recording this, I could export this or take this file and drop it into a movie editor and chop it up.
yeah.
So so if we were doing a demo or something, I just wanted to show off the demo part, I could scrub through the video and find just the demo part. And I have used open open shot video used to be my go-to, but it didn't have something that I wanted to do. And I found what's the other one? Um, short shotcut.
hmm
Shotcut is the one that I use now. And that's an app image. So I know I installed that. Well, not even installed it. I just dropped it into the bin folder and can run it. But I don't know where this flow blade thing came from. You're telling me it probably was here before I upgraded. So maybe it just wasn't in the list, and when it went through and looked for software, it saw it and put it in the list.
Could be.
I don't remember installing it, but my memory's not great. And see, this machine, VLC, is still here. That's nuts. Why is it still here on one machine and got it installed on a different machine?
I don't know, but it absolutely got uninstalled on mine because this is my little nook. I use this thing a lot, but it isn't real happy with FlowBlade. The fan actually spins up and it doesn't for much. This is a this thing's been great. It's a little, what is it? Um, eighth gen ish i7 8559U, which is, oh, come on, give me more info. Apparently 4 cores and 8 threads.
Oh, that's decent.
Yeah, I'm real happy with it. Um,
16 gigs of RAM or 8 gigs of RAM.
um, 8, though I might upgrade that. I've got that sitting around.
The the AMD machine does not seem like it has any problem doing video at all, but this other machine, this older machine, it does take it a little while and you can hear the fan spin up. So when I'm doing the editing. So yeah, I can guess that it is probably chunking away, overworking the processor a bit. It wouldn't surprise me. Video editing, that's a pretty resource of intensive process, even on a
Hmm.
decent machine. I can watch the CPUs all become really active when I'm doing it, but it doesn't seem to struggle with it. It just more CPU. Okay. Oh, we're going instead of using uh the 6 cores we normally use, we're just going to use all 12 cores. Okay, whatever. They'll all get a little workout today. Yeah, this thing really doesn't struggle with much of anything. I mean, it's a 6 core with 6 hyperthreads or 8 core with 8 hyperthread. It's an insane amount of processing power.
Yeah, I picked up some little tiny boxes. Here, hold on, I'll show you. Be right back.
Okay.
I don't know if I already showed you these or not, but this is a Dell Optiplex 7060. They're 7 inches square, inch and a quarter thick.
Did did you
This
bring one to the meeting, maybe?
maybe, I don't
Maybe.
know. If I did, Barry tried to steal it. Um, it's an i7 8th gen with now 64 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
I run VMs on them, and it does that very, very well. Come on, open up.
Yeah, I think you did bring one to the meeting because you were
That
talking
memory
about
I gave you came out of one of these.
yeah, you were talking about running VMs. So
There we go. They're harder to open than I would expect, but
well
I
they
think I gave you a wireless card out of one of these too.
okay.
But I pulled the wireless out, and that gray ribbon cable loops around, goes to a 2.5 gig Ethernet port. So this
Nice.
has two Ethernet ports, 1 gig, one 2.5 gig. The 2.5 gig tie into my NAS. I got these things for like $230 a piece, maybe less, but definitely under 250. And these things kick ass. They're really nice. They take a load of memory. They've got two NVMe slots and a SATA slot. So you can have a
Nice.
total of three drives in one of these things, or swap one out and put in faster networking. And it's got these two connectors down here that I'm not sure what they do, but they got mini pins. And I know one of the things that I've seen in here is a little daughter card that appears to be a PCI VGA card. And it just drops in there, and you where this port is, you end up with a VGA port.
Okay.
But there are several connectors in there. I'll have to research these. They're labeled video, type C, and KB.ms, keyboard mouse. That doesn't make sense because it's got like 20-ish pins, 24 maybe, way more than you need for a keyboard and mouse.
Hmm.
But yeah, these things, they show up. They're an hex core i7, so 12 threads with a pile of memory. I can run 5 VMs on one of these things without any problem. And it's the only way I'll run Windows. Hello.
Uh, well, I remember what else was broken after my install. You know the bulk read rename tool in Kaja?
Yeah.
That broke. The bulk rename program is still installed, but the stupid link to that's in the menu, in the right click menu,
Hmm.
gone. Doesn't work. Disappeared. I haven't researched it. I gave up. I was like, I don't care anymore. The program's still installed, so I'll just click on it. I'll just go the long way around.
It's shorter to rename them manually one at a time than it is to fix the bulk rename program.
I
So one of the issues, I think, is it's now called bulky, and it used to be called bulk dash rename.
oh, nice.
May work if you
Make a shortcut.
CD to/user bin and do a ln space dash s space bulky / bulk dash rename.
User. Oh, it would help if I.
You'll need sudo to do that.
Yeah. And sudo ln dash s
Space dash s.
Yep.
Um,
Bulky.
Yep. ln space dash s space bulky space bulk dash rename.
And a password. And I probably need to restart Kaja to make that change come available. And no, it's still grayed out. Yeah. So, because I haven't looked into why that is. The program's still installed. The bulk rename thing is still there. So, but
I knew it existed, but I really didn't use it.
well, that's the other thing. I only use it rarely. So the fact that it's still installed means I can still use it. I just have to go the long way around to do it. So, and actually, I think I could open that up and then just drag and drop all the files that I want to bulk rename into it. Yeah. So it's not even really the long way around. It's like one extra step. So, what's going on? Anything new?
Yes, and it's a very embarrassing moment.
Uh-oh.
Several years ago, Julie and I bought a front loading washer. And I cut up some stock material and made a pedestal for it to sit on with a little slide out tray so that you can put a laundry basket right in front of it and it's at the right height. And the pedestal is open so that we can put laundry baskets under it. We are in the process of doing some work there in the laundry room. And I looked and noticed that the outlet for the washer has still got the 1976 electrical supply, no GFCI. So I decided I will move the outlet from where it was, which is now directly over the laundry sink, to the left about 5 feet and up high enough. The washer is 55 inches at the top while it's sitting on the pedestal, that the GFCI will be visible. You can see whether it's stripped and all of that. You don't have to stand on your head or get a periscope or anything like that. So I disconnect the power supply. I disconnect the waste from the standpipe. And in order to move this, I have a floor jack. And I remove the laundry baskets from underneath the washer, roll the floor jack under the pedestal, and take a board and go from side to side. And jack up the pedestal and the washer above it because those things are heavy. So I'm positioning it in, jacking it up. No, it's too much weight in the front. Bring it out. Finally, I get the whole thing balanced so that it's only about 1/8 of an inch off the floor. So if I screw up, it's just going to drop a little bit. It's not going to tumble over on top of me. So I'm in front of the washer, and I jack it up a little bit and pull it, and I jack it up and pull it a little bit, and I'm easing it out and easing it out. And I get it out about 3 feet, and it stops. I can't make it go anymore. It's like there's got to be a little piece of debris on the concrete floor there in the basement in the laundry room that the wheels of the floor jack are hitting. So I get up, stand up, squeeze through the little area that's left where from the area I'm going to put this and walk around. And the washer is still connected to the wall by 2 hoses for hot and cold water. I felt like a friggin' moron. No wonder it didn't want to roll.
I was actually wondering when you were going to disconnect the hoses, but
Yes. Not
you,
until
you,
it
you,
stopped rolling. And I
you,
gave it a good try too.
you notice I'm shaking my head. I'm pretty sure we have all tried to move the washing machine without disconnecting the hoses.
Yep.
Yep.
Well,
I
how
was
many
wondering
times
if you
have
were
you
getting
had
up
it
some
balanced on a
speed.
floor jack?
I
I,
I I don't think I've ever tried to put a washing machine on a floor jack, but you know, I definitely have tried to move it without moving the hoses.
Well, the pedestal has rubber isolating feet that are adjustable. And so it doesn't scoot as much as the washer vibrates or moves around during the spin cycle. It doesn't scoot around to the floor. And so it's necessary to get it up in the air because I just can't drag it across the floor.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think I've used dollies before, but I don't think I've ever used like a floor jack or anything.
well, in this instance, because I had the pedestal underneath it, I had a place where I could lift it.
Yeah.
And it was just a convenient way of doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been much more convenient if I had disconnected the water hoses.
A little thing like that, but no big deal.
when I was
My,
a kid, my dad borrowed a thing from work. Oh, host has disabled screen share.
oh, host never turned screen sharing on. Bad host. And he can't click on the right thing. Why does it keep wanting me to share a screen? Oh, Zoom. All right, should be good.
Okay. One of these things. This is a
Oh,
little blower, and these are 2 hovercrafts, except his was just one hovercraft. It was about 3 feet square, but it would inflate to about 2 inches thick. And the top was a piece of aluminum diamond plate. And this blower is, I don't know if you remember him, but IBM years ago used to have a little vacuum cleaner, and it was almost exactly the size of that. They called it the Data Vac. But yeah, it worked really, really well. And when you turned off the blower, the thing was 1/4 of an inch thick. You could put anything you wanted on it, lift it up 2 inches, And this one says 950 pounds. I think his was more. Um, he did plant maintenance for a company in Sharonville, and they were moving pallets with 4 80-pound or 80-gallon drums on them. So, or 50-gallon drum. Yeah, 4 50-gallon drums at 8-ish pounds a gallon. That's what, 1,600 pounds?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it'd pick up a whole pallet, no problem at all. And you could push it with one finger on level ground.
Excuse me.
Cool toy.
So
And
let me make certain I understand here. It's uh, perforated on the bottom and it's floating on an air cushion, or you're just elevating it.
yeah, the black edge that they show around it. Oh, that was ugly. Oh, stop that. Yeah. This black perimeter
Uh-huh.
is cloth so that as it lifts, it still keeps the air trapped underneath. And you have to replace that once a year or so. But yeah, it's not a perforated plate. It's just a plate with a hole in one end and this edge around it.
It's an inverted teacup. It's open at
Okay.
the bottom.
Yes. Yeah. If you look through this hole, you see the floor underneath and part of this cloth edge.
Wow. I wonder how much pressure you have to be able to put in on that. Whether you could use a
2 or
vacuum.
3 psi.
How
Yeah,
many?
a vacuum cleaner will do it.
Okay.
MIT, I saw a video. I'll have to see if I could dig it up of MIT using something very similar to that, only it was huge. And they were moving very, very large objects with it. They called it an airbag, but it
Hmm.
it wasn't it I think technically wasn't an airbag. It was similar to that, more like an air cushion than an
Hmm.
airbag. But they
Well,
could they could
I have
pick up.
seen the opposite where they pick up sidewalk slabs with a vacuum that they put over the top that seals against the concrete, pick the whole thing up, move it out of the way, level it, and set it back down.
That's pretty neat. I know they've had like airbag kind of deals uh for getting sunken ships off the floor of the ocean, and they've had those for years. But I didn't know they had them available for uh moving furniture or moving appliances.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool. That's
Well, this one, I mean, they want nearly $1,000 for this thing, which I think is crazy.
Oh, that.
I'm I'm 90% sure Dad made the one that he brought home. It was just a piece of aluminum diamond plate
yeah.
with basically duct tape around the perimeter and a piece of vinyl
I
strap. Ain't much to it.
which one of the big YouTubers builds a bunch of robots. He built a hoverboard basically out of stuff like that. I mean, just a vacuum cleaner and um, some fabric, some pretty decent fabric, but some fabric and duct tape and a board. He climbed on it and was able to surf all over the place with it.
Hmm.
Hmm. It it
leaf,
it
a leaf blower as a power source.
it
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty much that was pretty much what it was. It was a I think he used a leaf blower to propel him forward. So he had a like a little rudder thing so he could steer. It was crazy.
So
I've
yeah,
never seen a
absolutely. My
bring
leaf
back
blower would,
armchair with a side lever on it.
I have the second from the bottom cheapest Harbor Freight leaf blower, and it would absolutely lift this thing up. No problem at all. And it'll go at least 30 minutes on a 5 amp battery.
Yeah,
If it's just blow it up, move something 5 feet and turn it back off, it'd probably go all day long.
all day long. Yeah. Yeah, I mean that hover planes, not planes, boats, the
Hovercraft.
hovercraft. Those things have been around for years,
Oh yeah.
but they usually have big big blowers to make them all. The thing that MIT did, um, it was interesting because I guess it could sense different levels of floor and it could crawl up stairs
Oh,
all
nice.
all on the cushion of air, which and it was huge. It was I think the guy said he could lift a car up with it and move the car around. But I'll have to find that video again. It was huge and they had a smaller version that could crawl up the stairs and do all kinds of stuff. It really neat stuff. So,
Yeah, but you still have to disconnect the water hoses.
eh,
Yeah.
my the youngest kid, he just moved and he had a washer and dryer. He actually screwed up, just only worse. He he yanked on the thing so hard that he pulled the hose, the stupid little screwy on thing. He pulled the hose out of the screwy on thing, so water went everywhere.
Where it's normally
Oops.
crimped on, he pulled it out of the crimp.
Yeah, yeah. He messed it up badly. So he was like, "I need you to fix this." I'm like, "I can't fix that." Yeah, it's called go to Lowe's and buy new hoses. There, it's fixed. But
Some days dealing with kids is fun.
yeah,
Yeah, if you enjoy hurting yourself.
look at them and go, "What do you want me to do?" I might be able to come and help you mop. I don't know what you want me to do. And I didn't even screw it up. So I kind of looked at it. I think I don't know. His hose had to have started to dry rot or something. I don't know. I've never seen a hose pull out from the crimp connector like that. So that is who whose technology is this?
Over transportsystems.com. They're somewhere they have a big industrial air compressor.
Ooh, neat. Yes. Well, so did the people at MIT. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't doing it with a vacuum cleaner.
But yeah,
He's
moving a looked like a 20-foot rack.
He's moving an outbuilding with it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. Now the surface that mounting it on or moving it on appears to be ideal for that.
Oh yeah, concrete is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about those air cushions. They really have been around forever. I'm really surprised that you don't see more of it, really, because it seems like it's just now something that has started to kick off like within the last 4 or 5 years. Maybe the compressors have gotten better. Maybe the ability to actually build something that holds the air in, has gotten better. Who knows?
Mhm.
But
I don't know. I'm looking at a round one. It's 20 by 20 centimeters and it's rated to 4 bar. So what, 60 PSI
Yep.
and 1,000 kilograms. So a little over a ton on a 20-inch diameter or 20 centimeter diameter torus. That's less than a foot.
hmm,
Let's just pretend it is a foot and it's square. That'd be 144 inches square, and at 60 pounds per square inch, that's 900 pounds.
That doesn't add up.
Mm, probably doesn't multiply up either.
Maybe they use 4 of these at a time or something. I don't know, but it looks like it. Here, hold on, share again. It just looks like a tire tube that they cut in half. It attaches around the outside edge, and the inner edge just pushes on the concrete. Hmm. Oh, wait. No, I don't want to get a quote.
I
But
just want to see how it works.
yeah, but tons of this sort of stuff. And interestingly, none of them are square. So this is another 1,000 kilograms.
The one that appeared on the screen to the right of this before you clicked it, I thought it said it was 10,000.
Oh, they've got stuff up to 10,000. This is 600 kilos. Oh,
40,000.
Yeah,
40?
price not
Jesus.
available.
Not until you sign in.
Okay, 40,000 kilos would be 80,000 pounds. 40
This is, again,
tons,
this is four
about.
bar. It's less than 10 millimeters thick, and it's 125 by 125 centimeters. So 1.25 meters.
And if I'm
Yeah.
reading that correctly, that says it is 0.8 centimeters in thickness. That would be 8 millimeters.
Yep.
It's kilograms though, right?
40,000 kilograms capacity,
Isn't kilograms small?
2.2 pounds
No.
per kilogram.
Yeah. 1,000 kilos is 2,200 pounds. Slightly off, but close enough.
Yeah.
So 40,000 kilograms is 89,000 pounds.
Yeah. And I used two and said 80,000. And then if you look at the number of square inches, had that been 1 foot square, it would have been 144 square inches. And again, I'm just using an approximation of 150 square inches. So 80,000 pounds divided by 150.
Okay.
Well, this one is 4 feet in diameter.
Yeah.
And that's how they get the 40,000. And I think they always use these in sets of 4. So I think it's 10,000 kilos per pad.
Okay. So this is a 40,000 kilograms for a set of 4.
Yeah. But still, at 4 feet square, you can put under a 40-foot shipping container 20 of them.
So you don't have to empty the shipping container to move it.
Nope, not even a little. Even if it's filled with lead.
And there's probably enough of a safety margin that if one of the bladders busts or whatever, you're still fine.
Yeah. Even if it does, it just goes and sinks in one corner. It stops moving.
Well, as you may remember, I worked for a number of years at a steel mill. And for internal transportation of coils, they would put like 8 axles under a trailer and then load the thing from front to back with 60,000 pound coils and just haul those around the mill. But there they had the domino effect. If one tire blew, then all the tires on that side blew. And you didn't get a bumper jack and to change the tires. You had to come out with a crane, transfer them to another trailer completely, and then go through and change all the tires. But that was not one of the things I wanted to be next to when the dominoes went over.
I have been up on the highway, I think once when a tire blew on a truck. I mean, the driver didn't even know that it blew, but I sure knew that it blew, and it was kind of scary. It was when it all the retread start flying off of it,
Yeah.
starts hitting what I'm driving. I'm going, no. Can't hear you, Mr. Steve.
I'm too young to die.
Yeah. I have seen plenty of semi trucks up on the highway with one blown tire, and they're just driving along. They don't know. But I could see where if you had a whole bunch of coils and were relying on those tires to distribute the weight because those coils
Yeah.
are extremely heavy.
Yeah. The function of the transport within the mill, that'd be okay. Uh, it's not DOT approved for highway usage.
I've only ever seen them put like what one coil on a truck. They'll go to the highway.
Uh, it depends on the coil. I think the highest capacity, biggest weight of any of the shipped coils was 80,000 pounds. But it's been decades, and it really wasn't an area I was ever involved
Yeah.
with.
Yeah, I know the mill, they did things a little bit different.
Yeah.
Yeah, moved some stuff around that was crazy and had those really, really big trucks. Really big trucks. So I told you guys about Patty delivering a pizza out there
With a slag hauler.
to the slag haulers. Don't crush me, don't crush me, don't crush me. But yeah. So I was telling Steve earlier, I've been playing around with getting old code to work on my recently upgraded machine. And I'm not having much luck with this one, but this little guy, he's dancing.
That's deep.
Yeah. That's got a TI board on it from, guys, it's probably been like 2016, maybe, is when that board came out. And this is the first I've opened the box up and played with it.
Now, I bought some little halogen spotlights to go above the table in our dining room. I bought 6 of them on clearance at Lowe's, thinking that I would mount one of them over each of the seats so that there'd be a nice, clean white light showing down on every place setting. And I had them in a Lowe's bag hanging on the back side of the closet door. And I just like put that off and put it off, put it off. And in 2007, our house caught on fire.
Ooh,
The fireplace had a crack back in the masonry about 3 layers deep. And it got into the wall above the fireplace, went up between the chimney and the house, went left and right into the wall next to the fireplace, went up and made a backward turn and went into the ceiling above the living room, came up into the room I'm in now, and started on the floor there. And it had been 2 weeks since we had had a fire in the fireplace. It was burning in the wall for that long.
wow.
So when the fire department came, they had their thermal gun and they checked every floor, the attic, and could see that the fire was behind the chimney and was active. So they got out the chainsaw and cut the siding off the house and started squirting water between the masonry fireplace and the house. And in the meantime, I'm there with two firefighters who I work with on hazardous material at the steel mill. And so one guy turns to the other and says, I think we need to open it up. And they turned to me and said, what do you think? And it's like, I don't know nothing about fighting no fires. But the smoke alarms had not gone off, had nothing like that. And there was a little scorch mark about the size of the palm of my hand on the wallpaper above the fireplace. And when they stuck a pike into the drywall there, fire jumped out about 18 inches into the room. And the fire alarms went off, and they had covered up everything with heavy duty tarps, had a hose at the ready, and they put it out. And they continued to peel back the drywall, exposing what had been involved in the combustion. They got halfway of the ceiling in the living room. They did left and right of the fireplace. You could see the house next door from inside the living room, and not through the window because there were no windows, where they had cut the siding off and peeled the drywall off from the inside. There was just studs. And one of the 2x6s had been smoldering for so long. It was a 2x6 that was about 30 inches long. And it was zero at one end. It had burned and tapered away to where it wasn't even charcoal. It was just gone. So when they got in on that and started doing that work, I'm thinking, this is going to be a real challenge to repair. So we had, fortunately, it was covered by insurance. But we had worked and worked. We'd taken on some of that work ourselves, painting and reworking everything. And we had one piece of trim left to put up when the basement flooded. And so now we've got to take everything that's in the basement. I'm down there with a butcher knife cutting up the carpet because wet, saturated. And Julie is hauling it upstairs and throwing it in the driveway. And I pull off the drywall because it's gotten wet, and I discovered termites. And they had gone across the entire bottom plate of the wall, going where they came in. They had gone down to the bottom, and I started taking drywall off, and they had gone within an inch of the second floor of the house. So we had no landing for the steps. That was all gone. You could walk over and look through the opening where the landing had been, and it was basement. So I took every hydraulic jack I owned and had to replace the sill plate on the foundation wall. So I jacked the house up in that corner with every floor jack, every bottle jack, a couple of scissors jacks to get enough room to get that out. So there, I've kind of lost track of where I was going with this. It was as a result of something you'd said that, oh, I know what it was. While we're doing this, I had to replace the carpet in the room that I'm in. And Julie says, while we're doing that carpet, let's do the carpet in the bedroom. So while the carpet is up in the bedroom, I go over and I cut the subfloor and pry that up and put in the lights from the second floor through the ceiling into the dining room. That way I don't have to disturb the drywall on the ceiling there. I have access to all the wiring, the top plate of the wall where I'm going to put the switches. And I would look at the receipt that is in the bag, and I'd had them hanging on the back of the closet door for 11 years. No sense rushing into these things. If the house hadn't caught on fire, I don't think they would have been installed even yet.
It's amazing that it's amazing you're around to tell that story, actually. I mean,
Yeah.
The
that's
firefighter said that if our home had been balloon construction, as many of the older buildings in Middletown are, the house would have been gone before they got here.
yeah.
And we've been in Cleveland the weekend before. Nobody was here in the house at all. If it had been smoldering, burning, smoking up, the smoke detectors going off, nobody would have known.
Yeah. Well, you know, was it 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago? One of the apartments buildings caught on fire, and it from the time I heard the call on the scanner to the time that the fire department got here, it was fully engulfed,
Yeah.
and there really was nothing the fire department could do at that point. All they could do is just keep getting people there to help contain the fire so that it didn't spread to something else. So I think that's an amazing story, actually. Your house was built so well that it contained the fire until it couldn't.
Yeah. Uh, how can I share the screen with you guys?
You see the little share button?
I'm not on Zoom right now. I'm on the photographs. Okay, the share button is
Down at the bottom of the Zoom screen.
share screen. Okay.
So if you click on that and then select the window or the screen you want to share,
All right.
it should work.
Okay. Can you see them?
Oh yeah.
Mm, that is crazy.
Wow.
Let me go away from that photograph.
Okay, are we looking at Windows XP?
That carpet, or the bottom of the carpet that you see folded over, is where I am sitting right now. And that is an opening to the outside. This is the masonry fireplace, and the fire had started from down below.
Mm,
So that's what we had going on,
Wow.
outdoors and outdoors.
how long ago was this?
2007. And that is the bill the fire department sent me to put the fire out. They wanted $2,600 for their response. And that's one of the boards that was up in the wall. I'll see if I can rotate that so it makes a little bit more sense. Okay. So there are a couple of nails protruding. Apparently, they
Oh.
conducted the heat in and made the oxidation process go the other direction. So you can see the one here at the back, that's a 2x6, where the bottom of it is just completely gone.
Yeah.
I can't select the individual photographs on this screen. And I'm not certain exactly why. Okay. Yeah, Julie had said, I think I smell something. You need to go check on that. And I didn't have my glasses on, and that was pre cataract surgery. So I'm down there blind. I don't see anything. And come back up and get my glasses, and there's just a small scorch mark on the wallpaper. And everything was a result of that.
Wow.
Uh,
I
it's hard to imagine. We lived in this house with all of that going on for at least 2 weeks, and we're unaware of it.
I should Patty tells me she smells stuff all the time, and I'm like, I don't smell anything. Are you saying I should pay more attention to smells?
It
Random
probably
random
would be a
smells?
good idea. It helped us out quite a bit on this.
Ah, I think since I live in an apartment, that would be a quite a bit quite a bit different
Oh yeah.
situation. Um, but yeah, I was actually kind of shocked how fast the apartment went up because I was under the impression that there had to be some sort of firewall or something in between, at least in between units, not necessarily in between the upper and lower floor, but in between the our neighbors. But apparently not. It went, and when it went, everybody had to get out. So
Oh
I
yeah.
think it does now. I think code requires separated floors and stuff.
more of a firewall kind of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. It would make sense, especially since they could do it. I mean, it cost a little bit more, but it'd be better than burning down an entire building.
Well, more important than that, you have residents in the other apartments may not be capable of self-rescue,
Yep.
bedbound or whatever on an oxygen machine. You don't want to be in the middle of a fire.
That is very true. I yeah. I went through a little fire training when I was, in the Navy.
Forestall disaster prompted a lot of that.
Yeah. I got mass respect for the firefighters because they do something that I wouldn't want to do. They run in when I want to go out.
Yeah.
Well, I was very impressed with these guys. Like I said, I had worked with them with my job for hazardous material, so that the state Sarah 313 regulations required us to have a diagram to a certain scale of every room and building. And it would have been 18 volumes of 1 inch thick back to back. Now, what the hell are you going to do with that? Nothing. If you're a firefighter, you get a call. I think that's in volume 16.
Right.
So I said, okay, how about if we buy you a laptop and all of the inventory and everything is on that, and we'll make it searchable. So if you're going to go to a particular door number, you can key that in. It will tell you everything that's there and hold all the material safety data sheets. And so they were quite responsive to that. And I thought it was a great idea because I didn't want to stand at the Xerox machine making 18 volumes of stuff.
Right.
When they came here, I said, I know your primary objective is to get the fire out. And they corrected me. They said, no, our primary objective is to minimize property damage. So these were not madmen with fire axes that let in the house. They were very deliberate, very focused, and quite professional.
Yeah.
At the conclusion of the thing, they were here about 2.5 hours. I went out and naturally shook everybody's hand. And they looked at me like I was a rarity, that I would consider thanking them for coming in to my house. As I said, they were just burst in a little bit of water if they found something that was active. And one of the firemen came up. I don't know whether you can see behind me, we have a fair amount of artwork on the wall. And he came over and said, I'm sorry, I got a little bit of water on one of your prints. It's like, I don't care. you saved the entire house. One little print is, thank you very much for your concern. I appreciate it. Not a particular problem.
I have listened to, I listen to the scanner constantly. And when they can put the fire out, that's the way they are. They get there, they want to put it out, but they want to contain it to like one location in the house.
Yeah.
So that it doesn't spread anywhere and doesn't do anything. But when they get somewhere and it's fully engulfed, there's absolutely no chance that they're going to save it. It's already done. They go into full firefighter mode and they want to contain it so it doesn't spread to other buildings, but they just want to put it out. They want to get into the building and get people out, and they don't care if the building burns to the ground or not because it's already done. It's going to be a total loss no matter what they do. They just want to put the fire out. But I've heard on the scanner in both situations where they get somewhere and they go, yeah, we can deal with this. It's easy, no problem. We'll get the people out. We'll put the fire out, and we'll be done. And it will be minimum damage to anything. And on the other side, I've seen or heard them. It's already too late. There's nothing we can do. We'll just go into a defensive stance and make sure that it doesn't spread.
A very similar thing occurred. We had a tragedy at number 2 ammonia scrubber, and 4 individuals were killed. And when the rescue team, without getting into a whole lot of detail, I was the first person on the scene after the explosion. And one gentleman was there outside of the number 2 ammonia scrubber, and the other 3 individuals were inside number 2 ammonia scrubber. and the firefighters arrived, rescue, and they transported Mr. Prater. And then they turned to me and said, I hope you agree that this is not a rescue. This is a recovery.
Yeah.
And absolutely do not put your people at risk because you're not going to rescue anybody.
Yeah. See, I think that's part of their training, right? They know what they can and can't do and what situations require certain things.
Yeah.
So there's I've got mass respect for them because like I said, when we were training, you know, obviously we had to go in and train, but every instinct in my body said, I do not want to be in this fire. I want to go the other direction. So, those guys run in.
If you were on the forest stall, you only had two options, well, three. You could fight the fire, you could fly an aircraft over to the Oriskany, or
Right?
you jump in the damn water. Because if that ship goes down, there's nothing else you can do.
Well, and if you're on a submarine and on fire, there's 150 of you.
Oh,
That's it. You're the firefighting force. You've got to deal with it. So if you don't deal with it, then the whole entire thing goes down.
okay. I'm going to flip another picture back over if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
Okay.
Ooh,
Do you see the reflection down there?
yeah,
That's water. And you can see the electronics and stuff, they didn't really survive.
yeah.
So we first had the fire, and then we had the flood.
And then you had the water.
Then we had the termites. And my wife joked, next thing that will happen along the plagues is your nephew will come.
So is your house that well sealed up that the water just stayed inside?
It came up through the sump.
Oh, okay.
The sump pump failed, and we did not know it. And the groundwater uh, rose to the level where it entered the house through
Yeah.
the sump. So going down, I open the door to the basement, start walking down the basement steps, and say, "Oh."
I we had that it when I was very, very young, 7, 8, something like that. We had that happen in our basement. The groundwater came up into the basement, and it that was fun. It was like you could put a little boat down there and paddle around.
Well, I had the forethought to put GFCIs on everything below 4 feet, but that didn't help the washer, the dryer, and the furnace
Right.
and the freezer.
Well, when we lived up on Central Avenue when I was a kid, I'm not even sure that GFIs were even considered or a thing. But all our electric was, most of the electric was on the main floor. We had a couple of light bulbs downstairs, not really a whole lot of outlets or anything down in the basement. So that was a plus. Of course, our phones were down there. our phone line came in down in the basement, and it shorted the phone line out for a while.
It's actually kind of surprising. Those things tend to be wet most of their life.
Yeah, I'm not real sure why it stopped working, but our phones stopped working for a little while. Um, like I said, I was 7 or 8, so I didn't really understand a whole lot of. I was taking stuff apart, but I wasn't understanding how it actually worked. But
On a future note, if you need GFCIs anywhere else, it's usually easier to just replace the breaker than the outlets.
Uh, I I appreciate that, Steve, but uh, when I was working on my stepson's condo, I found that in that era, it was commonplace for the electricians to tie the neutral wires together from different circuits and return only one line to the panel. And when you do that, the GFCI gets terribly confused and will not operate. Um, we had the panel off, and when I was going to put the GFCI in place of the breaker, I didn't know which of the neutral wires was for that particular circuit. You know, they all come back, they're white, they weren't labeled. And I got this idea, I will turn the lights on and individually take the neutral off. And when the lights go out, I know I have the correct neutral. And when I took the neutral out, another set of lights came on.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So what I was doing was running from one circuit through the appliances and load, through the load on another circuit, and back to the other leg of the 240.
yep.
So it was a unique situation where I had 120-volt appliances run in series on a 240-volt circuit.
That's not all that unique because one of the houses I lived in, they did the exact same thing. Exactly the same thing. You could pull a neutral wire off and something else would start working. And it's like, wait, why did they do that?
Yeah. So while I had that white neutral in hand, I decided I'll be better off buying individual uh, GFCI. Not as convenient. I'd like to be able to do all the circuits with one in the panel, but I don't want to disassemble the house to make certain that there are.
Yeah.
And I don't know how else you could do it other than tearing all the drywall off and looking at every junction box to make certain that they were home runs as opposed to joined up. But I appreciate what you were saying. That is, I tried that.
We the house that I was talking about that flooded, we we did no, it was a different house. We ran uh we ran one of the lights for the downstairs for the basement was not a three-way circuit,
Yeah,
and we wanted it to be a three-way because it did not make any sense that the light switch was at the bottom of the stairs. Whoever thought that was a good idea wasn't thinking, but whatever. And we ran into a situation that was very similar to that, only I think it was the hot wire. So you would take the hot wire off and other stuff would start working. And it's like, wait, did they wire the hot wire up as the ground? What what the hell did they do? So we had to go through all of our breakers to figure out what they were doing in the first place with this house because none of it made any sense. And stuff that should have been on like a lower circuit was on an upper circuit, and stuff on an upper circuit was on a lower circuit, and it was like, okay, I don't know what they've done.
You were talking about we were talking about water in the basement. This is why we had water in the basement.
Yeah.
Back here at the tree line, way back there, is the north branch of Dix Creek. And it flooded all the way up. This is the edge of our patio in our backyard. And the creek was flowing down. So if I were in the basement, water level would be about eye level.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
And it got the street in front of our home also.
Wow. Uh, wow, 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 wow. So,
Yeah, uh, the basement flood that time was groundwater, but somewhere upstream of us in the city of Middletown, there is a cross connection between the stormwater system and the sanitary system. So when our backyard floods like that, we also get a stormwater surge into the sanitary system, and that wants to come into the basement. There are only two homes on my street that have basements, and I'm one of them. And so to prevent that from happening, I plugged the floor drain. And I thought, that will take care of it. When we were watching the flood that you just see there out the back window, I said, I better go down and check the basement to make sure that the floor drain is not weeping. And when I got down there, I found the water was within an inch of overflowing our laundry sink. So, yeah, I saw your eyes there. That's a lot of water.
that's a lot of water.
So we got a secondary sump pump, put it in the laundry sink, and ran it out through the basement window and pumped water that was coming in from the sanitary sewer, backing up into our laundry sink, and pumped it out into the backyard.
I I think when our flood happened, I think Dad got a pump from AK and brought a pump home and was pumping it out from the basement out because our pump wouldn't have kept up with it.
After the first flood in the basement, I acquired a second pump, and that second pump would have been a spare had the first one failed.
Yeah.
But in this instance, when the sanitary sewer backed up into the laundry tub, I used it for that purpose.
Yeah. Oh, it is 7:04, and I bet I'm got dinner coming. I bet.
I know I do.
So, uh,
Stew.
we will be virtual again next week, and hopefully I'll see everybody then.
Thank you very
Sounds good.
much for listening to my rants tonight.
It's all right.
Thank you. Good night.
See you later. Bye.